Hi everyone, welcome to DIY Ideas. Today I'll show you an easy and beautiful dress that you can do all by yourself at home. It's going to be a relatively simple project since it's a little bit bigger than what we usually do. But if you'd like to learn how you can do this all by yourself, make sure to stay tuned. So you won't need much for today's project. It's actually going to be simpler than you think. The most complicated part is going to be the pattern itself. So here I have fabric. Of course you can choose your own. I did choose an inside fabric and an outside, a different kind. So here is the inside, and then I also have a measuring tape since we will be taking our own size today. Then a safety pin, some regular pins of course, and fabric scissors. So the pattern is going to be the most complicated part of it, so it's easiest if you take a top of your choosing. So this one actually has a really similar shape to what I want for my dress as well. So you see the top here with the lovely and very thin straps this time, so that's what I chose. And here the V-crop and the cleavage area, which you see nicer on the inside due to the lace. You can of course fold the lace and then you have a similar piece that you can mark that way as well. So just fold it inside and mark like that. And I'll show you on a piece of paper so that it's easier to understand, because this is a little bit bigger project, so it might be easier if I do it on paper first instead of the fabric directly. So your shirt should go on a big piece of paper, or if you want, of course, the fabric itself. If you're a beginner, I definitely recommend doing it on paper first in order to prevent any mistakes. Then you just add 2 to 5 centimeters or 1 to 2 inches all around your stitches or for your stitches, and you just mark this little side here if you want it looking like this. And this is a little bit different than the top I just showed you. So if you want a strap on top, it's gonna go over here. So this is only as tall as your armpits approximately. So this corner piece you see here, the very corner on the side, is actually right under your armpit. So you do want to add a little bit on top, so up to about here, to make it have the shape that you want it to, depending on what you want, of course. So the cropping is up to you. You can adjust that. You can do a round one or a V one or a lot deeper than here. Just make sure that you don't go too deep. So a perfect orienting spot for this, for today, is the armpit actually. So just make sure it's adjusted and it's looking good. So take the armpit as your orientation point and then just adjust the cleavage section as you'd like. So most of these dresses do have a slight V cleavage, so V cleavage as in V shaped, and then here I did a rounded back section. So it's going to be the easiest if you just copy this exact shape. Just make sure you mark the middle, of course. You do want that. It's going to keep everything symmetrical and a lot easier to work with. The tops, of course, as I said, you can adjust it, but just copy the shape of it actually. That's what you need. And then your top section is going to be up to your hips approximately. That's my line here, but you can of course choose your own length. So you see here what I did, that's about middle length, so about up to the knee approximately. And yeah, you can of course do it a lot shorter. You can do it longer if you'd like, of course. And then of course take your measuring tape and just take your size from your armpit all the way to the length where you want it to be. So definitely do take a little bit more than that, so about 5 to 10 centimeters or 3 to 4 inches for the stitches. Across, of course, as well is what you want. So you can make it different, so you can make the top section a bit narrower than the actual hip section. That should be your widest part of your dress. And yeah, just take your measure, whatever it is still the same method of making it. Of course, the line in the middle should keep it symmetrical, so you should have both halves the same length. This side is mostly going to be simply a straight piece. Some of them can expand a little bit and get wider as you reach the bottom, but that's also completely up to you. And then the back section is the exact same of the front section, just with a different top on here. You can of course make it look the same, but I think it's a little bit prettier when it's looking like this, kind of like a rounded shape on top. So you're gonna need these two bigger pieces for your dress. Apart from that, you're gonna need, if you're doing two fabrics out of your other fabric, the inside pieces of your top. So that's for the stitches so that they look nicer in the end, but it's completely optional. You don't have to do it, but I do recommend it. This of course doesn't have to go all the way through the entire inside. If you have a transparent fabric, it's definitely recommended, but the rest of it isn't really necessary if you have something that's not see-through. So yeah, either way, these are the tops. You see here how I marked where the tops are gonna stop, or where they are gonna go, the insides. So you see those on the bottom here that I drew, they are exactly the same as the top sections. So that's nothing different from what we already did. Here on the bottom are my straps, so I am gonna make them cross, which means that they are gonna be a little bit longer than what you usually do. That of course it depends on what you want to do and how you want to do it. But I have here 85 centimeters of length, and I have them 5 centimeters wide. So you see here how I did it, or how I want to do it. It should look like that in the end. But all in all, 85 centimeters is the length that I have here, and then the width is 5 centimeters. So that's what I recommend. This is the piece that I want to do. So of course we're going to fold it in half, and that way it's going to be a little bit wider than the original one I showed you, but this is how I drew the size on paper, just so you have a better plan of what we're doing today. So yeah, these are the two straps. You can do them with an inside and an outside fabric. Of course, in that case, you would do 4 pieces, so 2 out of the one and 2 out of the other, but we're gonna keep it simple today. Okay, so let's get started. First, I'm gonna do the straps themselves. So I have my piece here, my first 85 times 5 centimeter piece. I also just want to say, if you found this a little bit complicated, don't worry. This is actually the most complicated part of today's project. Of course, if you'd like to take a look at different shapes that you can do your dress in, you can just Google that, Google slip dresses and patterns. You can sometimes even download them or just buy a finished pattern. So either way, everything works this time. I'm just going to show you the simplest version I was able to develop myself. But yeah, don't be scared to try it out. It's going to be a great result in the end. And yeah, I'm going to show you how to do the straps first, as I mentioned. So you see here, so we are folding them pretty side on pretty side. So they should be looking away from you, or they should actually be on the inside. And you're going to do that for the entire length of your strap. So you can pin these, of course, and all we want to do then is just simply do a straight, regular straight stitch along the longest side, and the smaller sides we're going to keep open so that we can turn them inside out later. Okay, so now I'm taking a safety pin, and for that I'm just gonna go through one of the sides, not both, so just one. And I'm gonna go through, close it of course, and then I'll just push it inside till I reach the other end, until it kind of gets out through the other end. So definitely take your time, be patient with this. You don't want to rip any stitches, and yeah, this is a definitely really great trick to know. The safety pin makes it a lot easier to do than if you were to try it without it. Now an extra optional step that you can do is just do another regular straight stitch on top on the outside when you turn it inside out. I don't think you can see that very clearly because the fabric is black, but you definitely can do that to make it look a little bit neater and flatter. So that just depends on what you want to do. But this is ready to go, so we're going to put these to the side. Of course, I did the same with the other one. here is our pattern, so I'm gonna get to that next. And you see here the type of fabric that I have. Of course, you can choose your own, so that doesn't really change the project. And yeah, now I'm gonna take my back piece and I'm gonna align the armpit section, so that's the easiest way to do it. So yeah, also it's pretty side on pretty side, so just start by aligning the corners and then you can. So what you want to do is just make sure that you align it nicely. Of course, you can't start from the top because the top of the front and the back are not the same this time. So just start with the corner where your armpits are, and then the sides is what matters this time because that's the next stitch we're going to do. So just along the sides here from the armpit top all the way to the bottom, that's all you want, a regular straight stitch. So I'm going to do that now. Of course, you can pin this to keep it all in place, and then you can just start sewing with your sewing machine. It should be relatively simple, so just follow the shape as it is and make sure you have the same amount of space till the very edge. So you do want it kind of parallel to the edge, I guess. Also, an optional thing that you can do, and I find that really pretty, you can just mark somewhere on the bottom before your knee, or maybe depending on how long you make it, of course, but anywhere. If you wanted to kind of like have a slit that's kind of open and shows your leg, you do want to find a spot to mark and then just stop your stitch when you get to that mark. Now we're going to do the inside section, so we want them again pretty side on pretty side, and we're again going to start aligning from the armpit, and then we're just going to stitch that up as well. Okay, here are my two pieces now also done on the side, so you see what that looks like. For now, I chose a little bit of a satin-like fabric just to have it nice and shiny and soft on the inside. So I'm taking my bigger piece now, my outside piece, and then I'll show you what we're going to do now. Let me just find the very top of it. Okay, so here's that optional slit on the leg, and in order to make that look a little bit neater, you just want that open section after the end of your stitch and just kind of fold it inwards a little bit. And what you can do is fold it twice actually, and let me just get that really quick, and then just stitch over it on the inside, or actually even on the outside, and that way you can make it a little bit neater in the end there, where you actually still don't have a stitch. So it's super easy. You just want it folded twice on the inside, stitch over that, and that way you have a really nice seam at the end. And you're of course going to do the same on both sides. So here I am now. I think this looks a lot neater. Of course, we're not having anything fray anymore, and the extra bonus thing is that the slit is a little bit more open due to the folding on the inside, so that's also a plus. So okay, now we can get to putting the inside top piece with the outside whole dress. So I did do a seam on the bottom. You can see here the top that still looks the same, and the bottom has an extra stitch just to keep it neat and prevent any fraying from going on. So that's going to be my inside for today. And for that, I do want to take my bigger piece and my top section of it. Let me just get to that. Okay, so here is my top. And now I just want to take the inside piece and pull it basically over the bigger piece. So it's still all the other way around, and you do want pretty side on pretty side still. And this time you actually can align the top sections, but I do recommend you actually start with the stitches, and when you align those, everything else is also gonna fall into place. Okay, so you see the stitches here, they're looking good, and you see the top, of course, the cleavage section, so this is the very tip of it. I'm gonna start with some pinning just to keep it all in place since it is a little bit bigger piece this time. Then when we pin all of this, we're just gonna stitch all over the open edges on top, and that way we're gonna keep it nice and neat in the end. Okay, so here we are. I pinned everything that needed pinning. You see here that the edges are all nicely aligned and everything is in place. So now we can get to our stitching, but before that we're gonna do our straps, of course. So just take those, and then you also want to decide, in my case I have the very tip of this top section, so of course it's going to be a lot easier to place our straps. We do want them on the inside like this, which might seem a little bit weird, but if you remember, we are doing it still the other way around, and we're going to turn it later. So just make sure that your strap is a little bit I guess sticking out of the fabric itself, since this is going to be the inside. That way we're going to prevent it from ever ripping from the dress or anything weird going on. So of course I'm going to do this with the one strap and with the other as well. And now would be the time to decide how you want them on the back. So in my case, I do want to have them crossed. So now would be the time to decide where you want the back strap to be. So I'm going to choose just a back section. I'm going to mark it, actually not a section, but rather a point where I'm going to mark where my strap is going to be. And then when I have that, it's going to be super easy to just cross both straps and connect them in our marked spot. So that's where I want my back strap to be. For now, of course, we're just doing the front, so don't stitch it yet to the back. You just want to mark where it's going to be. For now, you do want it just hanging somewhere inside the fabric, and we're just going to do the top sections and stitch that before we actually get to the marked sections on the back. So yeah, we have two here. Approximately somewhere around here is going to be my other strap, of course. And yeah, for now we're just dealing with the front. Just make sure that your stitches in the cleavage section are really nice and neat, and then we can get started. Okay, so here I am after the stitch. You see it all around now, and I think it's looking really good. I also left the little opening that I also showed you a moment ago, so the mark for the back strap. Apart from that, it's all closed up now. You can see my straps on the inside, and I'm going to turn it so that I can show you. So they kind of stick out, and that's exactly what I want. You may notice this shinier fabric, that's actually my inside for today, but of course you can adjust that as you like and depending on the fabric you have available to you. But yeah, all in all, it's a really straight, really neat stitch. I really like the way it looks. This way it just provides a little extra layer in the top section where you actually do want to have an extra layer. So yeah, this you can actually wear without your bra probably, so depending on the fabric you're using, but all in all I think it looks really great. It kind of has a really nice and very neat lining, so I think it just looks a lot more stylish than if you've done just one layer of the dress. Of course, I'm going to do an outside stitch just to keep it a little bit flatter and not as puffy as it is now. But now would be a perfect moment where you're going to turn all of this inside out or the right way around and try it on. See if it fits you, if something needs altering, if it's all good for now. Of course, the whole point of it is for you to look good in it. So you do want to be satisfied with the shape and with the fabric now before you continue and finish it off. It's a lot easier to fix it now than to fix it later when it's all done. It's just a time saver if you do it right away. So anyway, make sure to remember that your straps are still not connected, so we are still to do that, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to do that. So I'm just going to take one strap, this time it's the left strap, and I do want to decide, as I mentioned, if you want it crossing or not crossing, of course. So anything works as long as you're satisfied with how it looks. You can, of course, just simply take it and kind of design it, see what looks best. If you'd like, you can even make a design or make it look nice and then pin it, and then try it on directly and change if you need to. So actually, I do want to do a little fold on the back. This is optional, but in my case, it's needed. It just looks better this way. So as you can see on here, I do have this pinned already, but I'm going to show you. So I just took my middle line, my middle of the back, and I did about, I guess, 1.5 inches or about 3 centimeters, and I folded that mark. So of course you can measure, but you don't have to, as you wish. So I took that mark and folded it to the middle. So yeah, I did that on both sides, and that way I get a symmetrical little fold in the back or in the middle of my back section. I pinned it to keep it in place, and you see what it looks like then. This is what it looks like from the inside too. And in my case, it just makes it look a little bit tighter when I wear it and a little bit nicer. So this is of course optional, you don't have to do this, but I think it can sometimes enhance the whole shape and kind of emphasize it. So here we're now going to do the back straps, and I am just going to stitch over them, so I'm not going to do anything special. Yeah, I pinned it here to keep it in place. And then what I'm also going to do is just take the entire back section and again do a regular straight stitch all across it to kind of flatten it the same way as the back, and then the inside fabric is not slipping out as I wear it. So that's what we're going to do next. Okay, so here we are, our dress is done with our straps, and you see the stitches here, or hopefully you see them. They made the whole thing a little bit flatter, less puffy. We have here our fold on the back as well, the optional one, and I hope you like the way this looks for now. Of course, with your own piece, now is again the time to try it out and see if it looks good. Okay, so I forgot to mention we do have the very bottom to still finish, so the top section is definitely done, but the back section and where our slit is for the leg section or the below knee section, that's what we're going to seam now, and we do want to fold it again just 2 times, just like we already did, just 2 times on the inside. And then you can pin that, of course, to keep it neat. Make sure the corner isn't slipping out, so you do want to kind of tuck it in. And then do the same thing pretty much for the entire length of the bottom section or the bottom edge. So just fold it twice. I definitely recommend that. It makes a huge difference when you do that. Pin it together, and then you can get to your stitching. Okay, so I put this on a mannequin just so that you can see what it looks like. So mine is a little bit looser, I guess. You can of course make this tighter or even looser than I did, depending on what style you like and how much fabric you have. So this is what it looks like for now. I'm actually really satisfied, really excited to get to wear this really soon. So feel free to let me know what you guys think. If you've done this, maybe you've altered something, feel free to let me know what you did. I'm always open to suggestions, and maybe you have some tips and tricks to share on DIY home sewn dresses. So yeah, thanks for watching DIY Ideas. I hope to see you in our next video, and until then, I wish you a wonderful day. Bye!